And thanks so much for joining Fight Night Picks Kicks. Really looking forward to our card tonight, UFC 260. We got some great stuff over on the website, fightnightpicks.com. Make sure you check it out. We have great interviews from some of the best in the business from our own JHK MMA. We also have the full card betting guides as well. Look at the best bets that our own Joshua Hart has. He's liking a Zaitser. He's liking Khama worthy. But if you also head into the store, you can pick up some of the new and updated merch. And we also have a great sale going on until the end of today. Use promo code FNP25. You're going to save 25% off your order at fightnightpicks.com. Look at this. I've got an Under Armour shirt in my cart. Head on over to the cart, and like I said, as always, until the end of today, use promo code FNP25. I also have a hat in there too. Apparently I have 3. Use that promo code, and you're going to save 25% off your order at fightnightpicks.com. And as we always say, let's get into it. Fight Night Picks is brought to you by Vertiball. Head on over to their website. It's vertiball.com. And listen, it's an awesome product. It's a local company out of New Brunswick, Canada. So make sure you support those guys locally as well as Fight Night Picks. But they're the only mountable portable muscle massager. They can stick onto any smooth surface. They've got an industrial strength suction cup. Can support over 100 pounds of pressure. You can get really into those deep knots. I have one here at home. I use it for my back and my shoulders from holding up that Fight Night Picks Pick'em trophy. But listen, make sure you check them out. It's a great product. Like I said, they're recommended by physiotherapists, masseuses, and chiropractors across Canada, the US, UK, and Australia. And they're used by countless professional athletes like Minkah Fitzpatrick on screen there, as well as Clelin Ferrell of the Raiders. So if you head into the cart, make sure you check them out. So I've got a Vertiball massager in my cart right there. Use the promo code FNP. You're going to save 10% off your order. You're supporting this company here that I'm very passionate about in New Brunswick, Canada, and you're helping out us as well. So make sure you check them out, vertiball.com, promo code FNP, 10% off your order. And without further ado, let's get into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, recorded in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. It's time for Fight Night Picks with your host, Craig and Matt Allen.
Ooh, Matt, and how sweet it is. Thanks everybody for tuning in to Fight Night Picks Kicks. As always, one half of your co-hosting duo at Craig Allen FNP. You can find me there on Twitter and Instagram at Matt Allen FNP on the same socials. Matt's name is Matt. My name is Craig. Sometimes people in the comments section just say Allen, and it gets really confusing, but we really appreciate everybody who's tuning in over on the YouTubes. We've got Craig P. Higgins, Cody Keller's here, Glenn Bacardi, It Could Happen 21, Piotr Jan's biggest fan. That's unfortunate these days, but overall, what an awesome card we have for UFC 260. It's unfortunate that our original co-main event between Alexander Volkanovski and the man himself, Brian Ortega, fell out. But Miocic and Ngannou too. What a good fight. You also have Woodley, Luque, Almeida, O'Malley, Robertson, Maverick. And to round out that main card, an interesting one between Jamie Mullarkey and Khama Worthy. And listen, A, if this is the first time that you've been tuning in with Fight Night Picks Kicks, we appreciate you. B, a like takes 2 seconds. And C, if you subscribe and you hit the bell notification, you're going to know when we're going to go live to talk about that main card in its entirety, and you can join along in our fight companion. That's going to be a really good time, Matt. It starts at 5 to 10 over in the Eastern time zone. And Matt, overall, what an awesome card we have coming up.
I haven't been this excited for a main event in a very long time. Stipe Miocic is the greatest heavyweight of all time. I don't care about Fedor. I don't care about Tim Sylvia. You get those names out of my face. Not that many people are bringing up Tim Sylvia nowadays. But he's facing... I don't want to say his hardest challenge, but I do want to say his scariest challenge, because we all know what Francis Ngannou brings to the cage. If he looks at you the wrong way, he can knock you unconscious. And here's another thing that people are talking about, because we have had such great trilogies in the heavyweight division. If Francis wins, I know people are excited for John Jones. We have a very high likelihood that this is going to set up a trilogy in the heavyweight division. We could have Stipe versus Francis 3 in, I guess, the near future. So there's a lot riding on tonight's main event, and I couldn't be more excited.
Mr. Luxury hanging out in the Super Chat. We would appreciate the Super Chat. And if you'd like to hit up the Super Chat, we've seen you there before for sure. But yeah, just hit it up. Help support the boys, and we will get into it. Now, Funky McClunky, you want to support the show, but you don't want to use your credit card. Head on over to the website. I mean, we talked about it in the intro. You can pick up some of the great products over on the site. We get the hats, the Under Armour hats, all kinds of great stuff. The shirts, as always. So if you want to pick up some of that stuff, You can use PayPal, whatever you need. It's over there on the site. So Matt, what we always do with Fight Night Picks Kicks, we head on over to our Fight of the Night chat first. We're going to talk about it, as always presented by Manscaped. And as you know, I'll talk about my balls as the show goes on, but the 2 Fight of the Nights that the fans picked, they're both on the main card. And the first one, our main event, Stipe Miocic taking on Francis Ngannou. Now, a lot of people saying that we're a little bit crazy with the pick, and we'll talk about it later on. But again, you talk about the greatest of all time. We caught some flack because, hey, is Stipe really the greatest of all time? MMA fans and guys, you haven't been in this for 15 years, so your opinion doesn't matter. Well, up yours, buddy, because we do it every single week. And the point of the matter is, Stipe Miocic, you look at the quality of resume, the gains that he's been able to make since he came into the UFC, and the wins that he's had even in his last 3 or 4 fights has been absolutely insane. And for Francis Ngannou, unless it's Derek Lewis and a boring snoozer or Stipe Miocic, he's mowing guys down. So overall, this has all the makings for a great fight. We have the super chat from Garrett, and he's saying, good luck tonight, boys. Looking forward to the fight companions, Stipe and Luque by decision. Speak it into existence. Well, maybe we will. But, Matt, with this fight, this should be an awesome one.
I think the reason that this is the fight of the night, maybe while it's happening, the action itself won't be as exciting as you might wish, but you're going to be so on edge because of what could happen next. I'm going to liken it to when Darren Till fought Wonderboy. The fight was terrible, but while it was happening and the tension that fight brought up, you were still excited every second of the fight. So no matter what's going to happen tonight, it should be a very fun fight. And yeah, I'm really excited. Francis Ngannou's only method of victory is normally by the most disgusting knockout possible. So I'm very excited for it.
It should be a great one. I'm really looking forward to this fight. And if we switch it over to our other fight of the night, we've got Kooky Hair versus... well, a nice buzz. We got Thomas Almeida taking on the man himself, Sean O'Malley. And Matt, people were very critical of, was it a knee injury? Was it a foot injury? Was it a Liz Frank injury? Listen, I did so much research this week in my time off about soft tissue injuries in the knee and in the foot. It was a Liz Frank break for Sean O'Malley in his first fight. It's a common injury.
That's what I said.
In a lot of sports, namely football. And for O'Malley, he was able to come back. But I also read that there's about 65% of athletes that really get back to full form from a foot injury like that, which leaves 35% that still have lingering issues from it. Now, for O'Malley, he came back. He had the huge win over Eddie Wineland. Like, he was really able to mix things up after Sukumtoth. Not that that was the only one. I mean, Jose Alberto Quinona is another one as well. You look at his last fight up against Marlon Vera. Was it peroneal nerve issue? Was it again a Liz Frank issue? There were multiple things that really could have been taken into account. But for Sean O'Malley, the fact of the matter is, there was an injury in his leg.
There was, but I do think the injury matters. It was originally the broken foot, then it was the nerve injury. It's not like he's experiencing the same injury over and over again. And about foot fractures, CJ McCollum's broke his foot 3 times, and he just came back and he scored 30 the last 2 games. So I'm not that worried about foot injuries upon really high-level athletes. I understand sometimes there are lingering issues, but I don't think for Sean O'Malley, unless there's going to be a very heavy foot stomp game plan from Thomas Almeida, I doubt we're going to see any issues. I am really excited for this fight, though. Almeida himself has been sort of alluding to the fact that, hey, I'm going to be throwing leg kicks in this fight. And if Thomas Almeida is really getting into the flow early on, letting his strikes go, I think this could be a very, very fun striking matchup between these two.
Should be an awesome one. Bondfish really doesn't think that Almeida's looking all that great. We'll see what happens. But Matt, overall, as we always do with question mark kicks, we're going to go in and out of the chat. So make sure you fill that thing up. It's already going nuts. A lot of people either on O'Malley or not. We're going to go from the bottom to the top, and if you tune in halfway through, this doesn't really help you, but at the end, we'll go back down through. Maybe we're switching some of our picks. I know I have one that I'm switching for sure, and I also have a question mark kicks parlay for this weekend. So, Matt, let's start down through, and the first fight on this card, Marc-Andre Barriault is taking on Abu Zaitser. And if you watched any of the UFC's pre-show coverage for this one, they always have those fighters that you can't miss. Really, all 3 were weird picks. Like, they really were. But this one was a weird one because for Abu Zaitser, he's been away from the game for quite some time. He made his debut against a very big veteran of the game in Vitor Miranda 2 years and 7 months ago. So you've probably forgotten about him, and the UFC wants to remind everybody. For Abu Zaitser, great record. I mean, you look at it in his last 5 on in. We're going about 6 years back. So again, there's been quite a bit of time off between fights. Really, really good boxing, really good forward movement, and some nice kicks up the middle for Marc-Andre Barriault out of Gatineau, Quebec. This is a guy that has a lot of pressure and a lot of power, and if you want to see a guy that always puts on exciting fights, maybe more so in the regional scene than in the UFC. Marc-Andre Barriault, but a great one his last time out against Oscar Piata, where he really poured it on him. Two guys each coming off of USADA suspensions. For Zaitser, he's supposed to fight a couple of times last year. They did not come to fruition. So he's coming into this one in a weird spot. Barriault's coming in with 3 losses in a row and a no contest. That was a very impressive win that he needed. So it's unfortunate more so for Barriault than it is for Zaitser. Overall, last thing that I have, Matt, I really want to know what was in Ottman's bag. They say it was potatoes. Maybe Abu has the answer and we'll find out after the fight. But what are you thinking of this one?
That was a lot. I gotta be honest, Craig. That was a lot. I really like Azaitar in this fight. I do. And it's just because for Marc-Andre Barriault, we've seen 3 bad versions of him and 1 good version with a bit of an asterisk next to it. And even when you go back and look at that fight, it's not like it's impossible to knock out Oscar Piata. It happens. And it's happened multiple times in the UFC. So I understand he had a good performance in that fight, but it was against an opponent who we've seen, I don't know, has he had the most underwhelming UFC career since Bevon Lewis, some might say. But Piata was never what we thought he was going to be, and I understand the win for Barriault or the no contest. It was impressive, but you just have to look at the totality of his work in the UFC, and it hasn't been that impressive. And for Azaitar, it's not like he's been active, which really has been the first issue, but at least when he does fight, you do like what you see. I think he's got the better cardio than Barriault. I do, because like you had said, Barriault has that great forward pressure, but at about minute 7, he does start to tire, and the pressure will still be there, but he will be a little bit more hittable. Those hands do come down, so I do have to pick a boo in this fight.
First last saying Zaitser all day. We also have Todd saying hashtag smash the like. You got to smash the like. Almost 500 people tuning in, only 70 likes so far. But yeah, there's a lot of people in the comments section as well saying and Eldar is one, saying Zaitser is the underdog. Come on. For me, the first leg of the Fight Night Picks question mark kicks parlay, I'm taking the over 1.5 in this fight. There's only 2 legs on it. And our first fight is actually the first leg. That's about a minus 335, so it's fair. It is what it is, but that's how I'm going with this one. Again, the conversation around who's the favorite and whatnot. For Marc-Andre Barriault, open underdog plus 135. The line went all the way down to minus 140. He's now minus 123 underdog. So the line shifted really early on. For Zaitser, he's about a plus 100. And over on Tapology, that's where it got weird at the start of the week, and it's still weird. 3,187 votes, 87% Zaitser, 73% by decision. I like Zaitser by decision in this one.
Yeah, I like him. It's hard to predict a method, but yeah, I do like Zaitser in this one.
It is tricky. I mean, Zaitser with the time off, he's over 35. It'll be interesting to see how the layoff affects his fights and what we get out of him. But fight over fight, his skills remain the same. And for Barriault, he goes all pressure all the time. The one thing I want to say, too, for Zaitser, he's a short, smaller guy. But if you actually looked at the weigh-ins, both these guys similar. Because for Barriault, he was a small light heavyweight when he would fight there with TKO. He really is a middleweight. And like for like, these guys are both about the same. So I'm going with the Zaitser. You are as well, Matt. Our next fight, we have Shane Young taking on Omar Morales. Morales weighing in successfully. Looked pretty good at weigh-ins. He's a big favorite. He's about a 2-1 in this one. I mean, for Morales, you have to consider maybe a little bit more of a polished striker. He's going to land at a better clip. Only his percentages in the UFC haven't been as good as Shane Young's, which is a little bit interesting. And for Shane Young, a lot of forward pressure. He's a guy that really got boxed up in his last fight against Ludovic Klein and lost impressively. And that was another one of those cards where a lot of city kickboxing guys like we had when we had Alberg and Cara France and the man himself, Adesanya, in the main event. So in this one, I like the fight. It should be a striker's paradise. I'm interested to get your final thoughts on this one.
This should be a really fun fight, and that really is the prediction. I'm not saying this is a fight of the night, but it could be your fight of the night. Like, if at the end of the night they're handing out the checks, and they're like, oh, Shane Young and Omar Morales are the fight of the night, I would find that very easy to believe. And I do see this fight ending inside the distance. I'm not going to say that I'd bet that by any means, but I do think that we are going to see a finish in this fight, just because both guys do move forward, and it really is hard to get either guy to take a step back. And normally when they do take a step back, it's because they've been hurt by a shot. And for Shane Young, that's the thing that gets him in trouble. He is so wild. He is so explosive, especially for the featherweight division. When he does let his hands go, he will leave himself wide open to be countered. Now, I do like the counter shots of Omar Morales in this fight. I think he has slightly more power. It's weird because at 155 pounds, I felt like he was a heavy-handed striker. But I look at him at 145, and again, small sample size against Shikaze, but still, he didn't look like he carried that same power in that fight. He did look to be the smaller guy, even though he was fighting down a weight class. So it will be interesting to see him, hopefully, against someone more his skill level at 145, because I think we can both agree, fighting Giga Chikadze in your featherweight debut is a very hard ask for anybody.
It was, and I mean, he lost every single round according to all three of the judges. For Omar Morales, like I said, I mean, he got down to about a minus 200 at one point today. The line went up, so somebody put quite a bit on Shane Young at the end. He's a minus 195 right now for Shane Young, coming in the underdog at about a plus 162. And if we head on over into the comments section, Matt, Clay is saying Morales didn't show up against Chikadze. If he comes in like that against Young, he probably wouldn't beat anybody. I agree with you on that one too. Rogue's Beer saying upset lock is Cherant. I mean, he missed weight, but he's missed weight before. Maybe I'm changing my pick on that one. Morales, yeah, it seems like there's a lot of people going with Morales. We'll flip it on over at Fight Night Picks over on Instagram. I tell everybody, hey, make sure you cast your votes on this. So, 338 total votes for Morales to 118 for Shane Young. That's good for 74% on Morales. And yeah, I'm going Morales again. Laos Nan is saying he looked terrible against Giga. Same. Eldar saying Omar didn't look great at featherweight. I agree. And I really like First Last Point saying this is definitely a pop and popcorn fight.
100%.
It is for me. It's just one I'm going to sit back and enjoy. And if Shane Young wins it, I mean, kudos to City Kickboxing. Demario Stewart.
Thank you.
I've never seen you in the super chat. Morales by TKO. That's what gets the boys going.
like the pick.
We really appreciate the super chat. You're going Morales by TKO. But like I said, I am going with Morales as well. And if I was going with Morales, I am by decision.
Should be a very entertaining fight, though, between those two.
Our next one, this is one that we were split on the pick originally at the start of the week. You have Modestas Bukauskas taking on Michal Oleksiejczuk. And I love the fight. You talk about, again, striker's paradise. For Oleksiejczuk, sure, he has wins by submission. For Bukauskas, sure, he has terrible takedown defense. Maybe you like Oleksiejczuk by submission. I wouldn't be surprised if I see some of those in the comment section, Matt. But for Michal Oleksiejczuk, man, the guy is a good striker. He's a powerful striker. He'll throw weird angles, but he's so wonky. And for Modestas Bukauskas, former K1 European champion, very good kickboxing base. We've seen his dad in his corner before. He just, to me, very technical, gets it. I love his stance, and I love his leg kicks. And for all of those reasons, that's why I went with Bukauskas at the start of the week, and I'm still on Bukauskas right now.
I'm a Lord Michael fan. I've got to say it. And he is such a wonky fighter because it's weird. You say he isn't a bad grappler, but he is a bad grappler. And for Lord Michael, he seems like one of those fighters who you don't want to fight him until you have to. He's the type of guy who they give after a guy in the top 15 has maybe lost a few, and you're like, okay, you have to fight this unranked guy. And he feels a little unbeatable when you see him in some of his matchups. He's very beatable, though. And this is a super fun fight because we are going to get the best version of both guys. I don't think Bukauskas will be that afraid of the takedown, although I will admit Oleksiejczuk is more likely to go for a takedown if either guy does shoot in this fight. But it should be a really fun fight, especially if it is contested on the feet like we both believe it will be, because Oleksiejczuk has big power in his hands. He can hit you to the body, he can hit you to the head, and he has decent combos when he lets his hands fly, but that's the frustrating thing about him. He's so single shot oriented sometimes that sometimes he isn't the best version of what you might believe he can be, or at least what I believe he can be, but I do think this could be a really fun fight, even though I pick Oleksiejczuk.
Adnan Sharma making a great point, saying this match is not for betting, just enjoy the fight. It's a popcorn fight.
100%.
Adnan's going with it. I'm saying that as well. But again, I really do love this fight. I mean, for Oleksiejczuk, definitely ways to win. And you saw for Oleksiejczuk, you talked about it. I mean, submission artist, but you watch his last fight, and it was just Jimmy Crute. I'm going to just get him down to a couple of knees. We're going to pop back up. I'm going to take him right back down. He's going to pop back up. And for Oleksiejczuk, he just couldn't pop back up after a while. Jimmy Crute looked amazing in that fight. That Kimura was disgusting. Almost popped his elbow, but it was an awesome one out there. And for Modestas Bukauskas, well, his last fight was, well, it was, of course, Jimmy Crute as well, where he got finished by Crute. So, again, it should be a good one. Oleksiejczuk got caught in a Von Flu in his second to last fight, whereas Bukauskas, former Cage Warriors champ, both guys coming in off of finished wins over Ricardo Nasiglia, and you look at the other wins that they have, or I guess that loss again, Jimmy Crute. If we talk about the Topology votes, I'm going to go with those just quickly. 3,183 of them, 63% on Oleksiejczuk, 76% by knockout for the 37% that have Bukauskas, 61% by knockout. Harry Davis has Oleksiejczuk. Voodoo Wiz has under 2.5 on the fight.
Does he ever?
Eldar saying legendary Polish power. Well, he is Polish, so there is that. That much is true. And James Brown saying Bukauskas can't defend a left hook. Listen, we saw issues, especially in the Crute fight, where he had, poor striking defense in that one. I think he really fixes it up. I'm still with Bukauskas. You're going Oleksiejczuk, but it should be a great fight. All right, we move into our next one, Matt. Jared Gooden. And listen, honestly, I was afraid the whole time we've been talking about this. We did our original video. I didn't say Jared Gordon once. It's very, very close. But
you did. Then we had to restart filming and we made a new video, but it's fine.
I did not. But Jared Gooden in this fight, He weighed in over, and they had to give him an extra hour to weigh in. He weighed 171 successfully, taking on Abubakar Nurmagomedov. For Nurmagomedov, he's the type of guy that gets way too happy with his hands. If you want to see examples of it, there's the Powell Kusha fight over with PFL. There's a fight against my favorite fighter in the world, Magomed Mustafayev, where he just gets way too happy, keeps his head super high and his back super straight. And I know, again, the conspiracy theorists among us, especially the ones out on social media, they love the body language. They love you ever see that on Twitter where they got the lines and Francis is standing up, but his head's a little crooked. He's not confident. It's crazy. But for Abubakar Nurmagomedov, the guy is full of confidence. He stands completely high up. But again, striking's a little weird. I like the point Rogues Beer's making, saying Gooden's scary as an upset. Because if you watch Gooden, all he does is move forward and throw like these nasty hooks. Unfortunately for him, he took on a good counter striker and a guy that has great straight shots, and Alan Jouban his last time out. Lost in his debut. For Abubakar Nurmagomedov, lost in his UFC debut as well against a very competent fighter in David Zavada. I mean, Zavada, if anything, is one of the slickest guys off his back. We saw that on the regional scene. We've seen that in the UFC as well. So in this fight, Nurmagomedov, it's usually rinse and repeat. He can kind of land a little bit of ground and pound. He's looking to move position. Maybe not the most exciting fighter, unless he's getting beat. And for Jared Gooden, pretty much same blueprint every time. Move forward, land a lot of good shots. But like First Last says, Gooden is a limited striker who is way too reliant on his power. So what do you make of this?
So Gooden's the type of guy who he will really struggle against other technical strikers. If you are a guy like an Alan Jouban, even Santiago Ponzinibbio comes to mind, as guys outside the top 15 who have really good technique, you're going to be able to kind of figure out his big power shots and overwhelm him with volume. But Gooden's the type of striker who, if I defend 2 or 3 takedowns, you're going to be in a lot of danger. And that's really what this fight comes down to. If Nurmagomedov can get the takedown, and how many times have we ever said that in a breakdown? If Nurmagomedov can get the takedown, he'll win. Then I think we know how this fight is going to go. But the threat of Jared's knockout is there, and it's tough to really say, oh, Gooden's going to win because he could get the knockout. I am still going to pick Abubakar Nurmagomedov, but I will admit he is a tempting underdog to pick in this fight.
Abubakar Nurmagomedov opened a -169. The money's come into him until today, and he went down to about a -245. He's now -238. For Jared Gooden, he opened a +141. He's now at a +189. Like I said, a little bit of late money coming in on the man himself, Jared Gooden, making his second walk to the octagon. At Fight Night Picks over on Instagram for the votes. 350 total votes for Nurmagomedov to 117 for Gooden. That's 75% or thereabouts on Nurmagomedov. And again, I agree. Now, James Brown saying Jared's gas tank gone by the mid-second round. Right. Possibly. Again, for Nurmagomedov, if he's in this fight, it's not like Zavada. It's not like the fight against Kusha. You saw Kusha in that fight just get it in close. It was like an old-timey boxing fight, like we're watching in the background. But really like a nice Povetkin, just all of the uppercuts in the entire world. Got him down to the ground. Got him by rear naked. But yeah, I still have Nurmagomedov here.
And the good thing for Nurmagomedov is the more takedowns he gets, the more tired Gooden's going to get as a result of it. So if things are going well for Nurmagomedov in the first round, just expect it to continue to go his way as the second and third progress. Because really, Gooden's only chance to win this fight is while it's on the feet. And I believe that's only early on in this fight. I like Nurmagomedov quite a bit, to be honest.
Voodoo and Christopher Bailey, best UFC show on YouTube. We certainly appreciate that. Appreciate that? Who am I? What am I, Justin Bieber?
Craig's pretending to be Brendan Shaw, but thank you guys. You're the best community.
I had a rough time there. Phoenix Graves saying smash the like button, and then Eldar saying Habib says this time Abubakar's ready. Well, last time he had Abdulmanap, Habib, and Javier Mendez in his corner.
That's a power corner.
Yikes. All right, Matt, we'll move on to our next one. We have Alonzo Menifield taking on Fabio Cherant. And I did so much tape study. A lot of people were like, listen, could you guys have given a less biased breakdown on that one? You know Alonzo Menifield. He's been around with the UFC.
I also said he was going to win.
Yeah, and Dana White's Contender Series for a while. You got to give the guy some shine that hasn't been around. Now, we have seen Fabio Cherant on Contender Series. He did not win his fight. Had a very exciting one against Oleksiejczuk where it was a really nice hook that landed on camera. He got a little rocked, and then he threw a Hail Mary flying knee that landed and flipped Cherant, and he finished him. So it was an amazing fight for Cherant in that one. Well, it went amazingly for Khama. So since then, Cherant's got to pick back up, and he's won 3 in a row. He had a big win with LFA, beat Eric Murray Jr., 5-3, beat UG, the Canadian, who was 3-0. He missed weight in that one. I talked about that in the original video. He weighed about 209. You hate to see it. He also missed weight in this one, weighing in at 206.5. So he forfeits a percentage of his purse to Atomic Alonzo. And if you look at it, for Cherant, he wins the vacant light heavyweight belt with LFA. We've seen a lot of great light heavyweight champions over with LFA make transitions. And I mean, even from middleweight to light heavyweight, I'm thinking, Brendan Allen, Ryan Spann. Like, we've seen a lot of those guys. Kevin Holland find a lot of success in the UFC. Todd hitting up the super chat saying, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you, Todd, too. So in this fight, Fabio Cherant, he's, again, picked up the pieces. He's gotten wins like you want to see him get. For Alonzo Menifield, a lot of people just down on him in general. He's lost 2 in a row against good competition.
It has been, and for Menifield, that's the thing. He's losing against high levels of competition, but he also has a win against someone in the top 15, and I don't know if Menifield's a victim of having that really good win too early in his career, because it's something we say quite a bit. It's, I really like this guy, it'd be nice if he wins this fight, but this fight isn't the one he should win, because if he wins this one, you're just going to fight killers from that point on, and when Menifield beat Craig, that was kind of the case. We're only going to fight really high-level guys from this point on, and I just don't know if Menifield was ready for it yet. Now, this fight against Cherant, I do kind of feel like we have 2 guys who are kind of similar points to their career experience-wise, although Menifield has spent longer in the UFC. Because like you had said, the wins that Cherant has outside the UFC, they're not great. It's not like he's beaten anyone who's all that high level, if we're being honest, but he's not just being a can crusher. He does have a few decent wins. I still like Menifield in this fight, but I will admit, this fight 100% comes down to cardio. If Cherant starts to get tired by over-grappling, if he's being too committed to some of the takedowns, and Menifield can defend them, I do think Menifield could go out there and land a little bit more volume round after round, each and every round. And the thing too is Cherant missed weight, so we don't know how good of a training camp did he get in, because it was on short notice, and we don't really know what his physique is like going into this fight. So I'm just more sure of the Menifield pick, although I understand why people do pick Cherant just because of the grappling advantage.
Matt, we don't know how they're going to make out, but I like Tim Rice's comment. And Tim, if you're out there and you're listening to this, I'd like to see Francis punch us too. If you want to see a content piece like that, that'd be great. But you're the guy behind the screen typing it, and I'm the guy doing the show. So we continue on. When you look at a fight like this, again, Alonzo Menifield, has his level of competition been all that great? I mean, the win, you said it in the original video. The win against Paul Craig just continues to look better and better. And he fought OSP, a former title challenger. So there is that in his corner.
So that would say, yes, it is.
For Fabio Cherant, he's not the type of guy that looks for a lot of offensive takedowns. But if he's on his back and if somebody pushes the pressure against him, he has a lot of good defensive submission. And you're typically a guy that loves to see that.
I do, but the problem is it's not like Cherant's going out there and it's like he's Jermaine Durand to me, where his kickboxing's so high level that, yeah, those defensive submissions are really going to pay off. I don't think a lot of people are like, wow, I'm that scared of the striking of Cherant that I'm going to shoot a lot of takedowns on him. I just don't think that's the game he's going to have in the UFC.
Matt, all right, so we had a look at the fight. We were, early to the game for the original video. We didn't have odds. Menifield opened a -250 favorite. He's now -298. And if you look at Fabio Cherant, open a +210. He's now +237. I talked about it early on, the fact that I was a little bit worried, especially with the man himself, Fabio Cherant, because I had him picked originally. He missed weight coming in on short notice. Like, an extra 2.5 pounds? Or an extra half pound, sorry? What are we doing here? It's just not a good look.
No, it really isn't. That's why, again, it's also hard to pick. When a guy's only fought in the regional scene and he hasn't fought anyone who's even UFC caliber, you haven't experienced a good loss that you had to come back for and be like, wow, I have to get that much better because that guy's still out there. It's my whole Gavin Tucker theory, where Gavin Tucker's a really good fighter, but until he lost to, well, I guess now Dane Ige, there was never a fight that was like, wow, I really need to get better before we get into the UFC, I guess, especially with Glenn. And that's my issue for Cherant, too. If he loses this fight, we might see a much improved version of the next time out. I just think Menifield's too much for him right now.
Matt, yeah, I'm switching the pick here. I have to. I'm going with Alonzo Menifield. I don't like the weight miss from Cherant, and I said it earlier. It might sound like I'm contradicting myself, where he weighed 209 for the fight against UG. That one was weird too, but where he just fought a few weeks ago, he weighed in successfully there, and he was under. He was 204.8, which you like to see, and then he missed here. I got to go with Alonzo Menifield. Again, the pressure from Menifield, the combinations from Menifield, and the power shots as well. I think it's going to give Cherant some issues. Listen, again, I had Cherant originally, so would I be surprised if he got the win? No, but I am switching the pick, so take that for what it's worth. I don't have a ton of confidence in this one. It's one that I consider a pop and popcorn fight for sure.
Jake Paul, I'm calling you out.
Yeah, let's see it.
I don't think I could make 205. I got to be honest. I'd have to pack on quite a bit of weight to make 205.
Yeah, me too. All right, you put us together, we could be a heavyweight.
We could.
Matt, we have Jamie Mullarkey taking on Khama Worthy to kick off the pay-per-view. And again, if you're hanging out right now, you got to make sure you check out the Fight Companion. All it takes is 2 seconds to hit subscribe and hit the bell to know when we go live. But for those of you who won't, we're going to go live 5 minutes before the pay-per-view starts, and we'll get you ready, and we'll talk about all the fights. Maybe we'll have a couple pops. It should be a great one. But you've got a fight here, Matt. Jack is hitting us up in the Super Chat saying Matt can beat Francis, but the Predator is too scared to go down to welterweight to fight him. If you thought Matt was a welterweight, you got another thing coming.
I could bulk up to welterweight much easier than I could bulk up to light heavyweight. But
That's fair.
I could probably beat Francis at 170 because he would die the day before the fight and not be able to make it. So that'd be the only way I beat him. But I'm so excited for tonight's main event. And I'm really excited for this fight too because Khama and Jamie Mullarkey, it's going to be an interesting one. Because we know what Mullarkey brings to the table. He's tougher than a $2 steak, some might say. And he's one of those dedicated grapplers, but you kind of hate seeing it. Where he just kind of panic wrestles into exhaustion, kind of. And we saw that in the Riddell fight. Now, Brad Riddell's a much better striker than Khama is. He's a much more tactical striker, and I think he probably hits harder too. But the one thing Khama has over Brad Riddell is much longer arms. Brad Riddell built like a T-Rex, and Khama actually has a really good reach for this division. And he is a fighter who, he's got a bit of that wider stance to him, and I do think he'll be able to pick apart Jamie Mullarkey on the way in, because for Mullarkey, he's not a bad striker. He's a bit of a wonky striker. He's sort of stiff in his movements, but when he does land, he can land decent shots, especially if he starts to put it on in volume. But the issue is he's going to need the takedown at some point in this fight, and one thing Worthy does do well is he makes guys pay for their takedown attempts. He uses those Travis Brown elbows. He's got good elbows on the inside. He's got good knees coming up the middle too. Honestly, this is just a really hard pick to pick Jamie Mullarkey. I don't really see how he gets it done unless he's able to go out there and completely out-wrestle Worthy from the first minute of the fight. Maybe he can wrestle Worthy into exhaustion, but I gotta be honest, this is a really hard fight for me to pick Mullarkey in.
This was one where I looked at it, and again, I had it written down, the striking differential on this one. And if you're Jamie Mullarkey, listen, now again, it's skewed, so you can't really look a whole lot into it, but strikes for, or landed per minute, 1.87 to 4.6. Again, he's taken on two very, very good strikers. Fares Ziam is a very good kickboxer in his own right. Can't wait to see him again, straight up. And if you look at Khama, his line's in the positive, 4.12 to 3.69. If Mullarkey's getting hit a lot, and he has good wrestling, Khama, almost like Fabio Cherant, we talk about defensive submissions, but Khama is kind of an odd submission specialist. So the only way you're going to beat Khama, and again, have a look at his record, you got to knock him out. And listen, on a good day, a strong gust to win could. Maybe,
No. On a good day at 145 pounds is good. But that's the thing. Khama does have a decent chin at 155 pounds. So I do think he's a case of a guy who is cutting too much weight to make featherweight. And I do think we see a different fighter at 155. Now, did he look great against Luis Pena? Not at all. He looked very bad in that fight. But
he won it.
I think Pena... Oh, yeah, that's true. He did win that one. For some reason in my head, I thought he lost. I do think he's got it to beat Mullarkey. I don't think Mullarkey has the ability to finish this fight on the feet or on the mat. So that's why it's hard to pick him.
Yeah, Homeless in America, I am on the left. Who else? Anthony saying, will I break down the Triller card? Well, Anthony, I got news for you. We broke down Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr., and everybody just made a big stink about it.
So, Jamie Mullarkey did seem to have a somewhat bad weight cut. I wasn't all that tuned into the weigh-in show, I gotta be completely honest, but I did see he had a bad weight cut. Best kind of pops Dr. Pepper. I agree with Adrian Yanez on this one.
Yeah,
I think
same here.
Without a doubt, it's Dr. Pepper. So, yeah, there's your...
I've been trying to find Dr. Pete's, the knockoff SodaStream version, and I can't find it anywhere. The guy that I just picked to win in the co-main event of the Povetkin card just got knocked out, and he's done. Son of a gun.
And that's why Craig shouldn't bet on boxing.
Oh, boys. But Povetkin White 2 is coming up, so I'm really looking forward to that. And Todd hitting up the super chat saying, smash the like, let's talk bush maintenance. That comes out before the co-main event. So yeah, like I said, I mean, in this one, you look at Khama. Do I love that he's as big of a favorite as he is in this one? He's about a minus 130.
Yeah, I do.
I'm taking Khama as well for all the points that you made. And yeah, Sean saying, did you hear that I made an OnlyFans? I did not. That would be weird. Gillian Robertson taking on Miranda Maverick. Matt, the second leg of the Fight Night Picks Kicks parlay is Miranda Maverick. And take from that what you will. I've had poor luck in the women's flyweight division. I always get flashbacks of Molly McCann taking on Tyler Santos. It is what it is. Brandon Dick hitting us up in the super chat saying Worthy all day. I agree with you there. And David Jameson saying best MMA show hands down. I mean, I can't go wrong with that. I think you're great.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you. But I look at this fight, Matt, and Miranda Maverick has all of the things that you like to see in a prospect in this division. I mean, I know Macy Barber's been hyped up in the past, but listen, she gets way too wild and too aggressive. Miranda Maverick can pick her shot. She makes those in-game adjustments. She has good defensive wrestling, offensive wrestling.
And she beat good fighters before she came to the UFC, unlike Macy Barber. That's the really big point.
The big thing is, and I saw this in the comments, you actually got a little bit of flack, but I had to back you up in the chat in the fact that you said that Maverick had really good wins outside of the UFC, to which I agree. Does she have a better quality of opponent than Gillian Robertson? Well, no, but Robertson's been in the UFC since, well, a very long time. So for Maverick, she's beaten the competition she should beat, and she's been impressive in those fights. Again, current Bellator fighter Deanna Bennett, she's got a split against her, 1-1. But overall, Maverick looked really good in her last fight against Liana Jojua, a good striker, but an even better judo practitioner. She's got those great throws. She had a good fight in her own right against the Romanian-Canadian Diana Belbizia. But yeah, I really like Maverick in this one. Robertson's a good fighter. She has good submissions, but she has poor striking.
There's two versions of Gillian Robertson. One version looks really good. That's the version you saw against Courtney Casey. That's the version you saw against Molly McCann. That's the aggressive version who can get the takedown. The problem is when she can't get the takedown, you expose her striking. And like you said, her striking is poor, to be nice about it, I guess. She's very awkward on the feet. She doesn't have big power. She doesn't have good volume either. And it's kind of one or the other when you're a striker. You either have to have power to really get the or to get the confidence of your opponent, or you have to be able to overwhelm them with volume. I just don't think Robertson's going to be able to get the takedown in this fight. And one thing that Miranda is good at is, like I said with Worthy, she will make you pay for going for the takedown. She's got good elbows on the inside. And that's the thing. Miranda Maverick, she doesn't have big power by any means. She's not like Jessica Andrade, but she is a fighter who can get TKOs, and that really means something in this division where there's just not a lot of fighters out there who can finish the fight. Whereas Gillian Robertson, yeah, she gets the fight to the mat, she has good jiu-jitsu, but we've even seen her make, I'll say, questionable decisions on the mat. That's fair to say. So I do like Maverick quite a bit in this one.
I like Maverick as well. If I can head into the chat, Matt Isu's saying, we don't care about this fight. Well, I know John Anna cares a lot about this fight. He considered Miranda Maverick one of the top prospects coming into this year, so you should definitely be paying attention to this one, and it's a good one to have on the main card. But again, for me, I have Maverick. It's the second leg of the Fight Night Picks question mark kicks. The first leg is the over 1.5 in the first fight of the night, Zaitser and Marc-Andre Barriault. And Matt, let's just head into Fight Night Picks. On Instagram, we get the total votes, 328 total votes for Maverick to 130 for Robertson. That's 72% of the fans on Instagram going with Maverick to get the win. Matt, let's head into our next fight. We have a contentious one between Sugar Sean O'Malley and Thomas Almeida. And listen, I mean, Almeida, he's been talking about kicking the leg. He's been doing a creepy top tooth, weird bottom smile.
He's got to stop that immediately.
He's much shorter than Sean O'Malley, but he's thicker than Sean O'Malley. And he looked good at 35. I think he looked really good on the scales. I know you had the issue about the weight cut and the overall durability of Thomas Almeida at 35. Sure. That's 100% a thing. I mean, Sean O'Malley wouldn't be A, as big of a favorite if that wasn't a thing, and B, if he wasn't 1-4 in his last 5, Sean O'Malley wouldn't be that big of a favorite. If this was like 2016, we'd have a super green fighter and a guy that shot out of a cannon. So it's a totally different look from that 5 years on. But we look at this fight, Matt. A lot of people down on O'Malley for the antics, but a lot of people still high on his fighting style.
Yeah, I really like Sean O'Malley in this fight. I do, and we're watching boxing, and Ricky Hatton's son just fought a guy who was 0-11. Now, in
boxing,
he's
0-10 going into it.
Sorry, he was 0-10 going into that fight. Now he's 0-11 afterwards. In boxing, they do really like to sort of bring their prospects up easily. They let them fight guys who stylistically aren't going to pose that much of a threat to them. The UFC knows what they're doing right now. They have a really big bantamweight against an average-sized bantamweight who doesn't have a good chin at that weight class, who is a primary striker. It's just a lot of things going against Thomas Almeida in this fight. Everything he does, Sean O'Malley kind of does the exact same thing. And although I do like some of the Muay Thai from Thomas Almeida, some of the wildness that he does get into, the Brad Pickett fight's one of my favorite fights of all time. It's just going to be a really hard fight for him because he is at such a reach disadvantage in this fight. And I do like the accuracy from Sean O'Malley. That's one thing. It's when fights are on the feet, guys don't hit O'Malley clean very often. They really don't. When you do invest into the leg, you can slow down some of that movement of O'Malley. But for the most part, when guys are forced just into a technical kickboxing fight with O'Malley, he is very hard to hit because he does use his movement very well. So I think Almeida's going to have a really hard time. And he does have that kind of Thai boxing style where he will plant his feet to throw. So I do think O'Malley's the much more elusive out of these two. And I do like his darting in punches. He throws this straight right that's very reminiscent of, I always think of Eddie Alvarez in his Bellator days because like that dart right in hand, it's a really nice shot and it catches guys off kind of beat. And that's one thing O'Malley, I think, will use really well in this fight. It's going to be a tough fight for Almeida. Is it a winnable fight for him? Without a doubt. I just think the range that O'Malley can keep in this fight really will give Almeida problems. And if Almeida's going to land, he's going to have to stand in the pocket for at least one shot too many, and that's what O'Malley's going to make him pay.
Phil Sonnen, I got to go after that one because a few people said, ring rust for Almeida, but he fought more recently than Sean O'Malley. And the eye surgery was, 2 years ago now at this point? So, I mean, he's still been training. He's had a fight since, and it didn't look like it affected him all that much. And then in his last fight, too, against Jonathan Martinez is a good fighter. Say what you will about his fight with Davey Grant. Pump up a hype train if you want to.
If you get knocked out by Davey Grant on the feet, Craig, you can't say he's a really good fighter. He can be a good fighter, but not a really good fighter.
All right, man. But we look at this fight here. Let's have a look at the odds. Because, again, I said Sean O'Malley, big favorite. He's coming in here, opened a minus 250. The line dropped immediately. He's a minus 334 at this point. For Thomas Almeida, open a plus 210. He's now plus 260. And if we have a look, let's go over to Tapology and see what the people are thinking. I'm going to hedge. I'm going to say about 80% have O'Malley. What are you thinking?
Sure.
Let's pull it down. 86% with O'Malley to 3,466 total votes. 86% by knockout. Rob is saying, thanks, Fight Night Picks. Love you guys. Keep up the great work. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, Matt, it's hard not to take the big favorite. I'm going to hedge. I'm also going to go with O'Malley in this one. Almeida.
You gotta stop, Craig. No. You were so confident with Almeida, and he's going to kick the leg. I'm not letting you switch your pick on this one.
Almeida, for me, the issue is the fact that he can get out volumed. And in a fight against Sean O'Malley, I think he can get out volume. Now, O'Malley has to do a better job than he did in the fight with Marlon Vera because he was a little bit tentative in that one. But the way that I look at this one, it's just like when Michael Chandler fought Brent Primus. He had the injury. He had the issue. Peroneal nerve issues are weird, especially when they're in fights. And if you go back and you look at the Liz Frank injury with the foot, we've seen O'Malley come back from it, and it's not like his movement was all that compromised. So I think if O'Malley can throw volume in this one, and if he can at least check a kick, he should be able to get the win over Thomas Almeida. So I'm going with O'Malley in this one. It'll be interesting to see how the fight ends up. And Matt, we'll move forward into our co-main event. We have Tyron Woodley taking on Vicente Luque. And for Luque, Phoenix Rising. I mean, let's look at his last loss. It's against a top contender, so maybe you worry a little bit. Because for Luque, he's beaten a lot of guys out of the top that aren't in the top 15. And once he's really kind of gained and fought the upper echelon, he's lost those fights. And he's had a lot of wars in this division. So he's taking on a guy who, again, you talk about top quality opponent. Tyron Woodley's really been there and done that.
Are you Tyron Woodley's publicist
At one point in time, Tyron Woodley was considered, well, A, he was the best welterweight, but B, like he was making a case there. And then he lost to Kamaru Usman. He gave all that away.
No one ever thought Tyron Woodley was the greatest welterweight of all time. Joe Rogan tried to say it in a couple commercials to get people excited about his fights because no one cared about Tyron Woodley when he was the champion. And that's unfortunate because Tyron Woodley never got a fair shake when he was the champ. He never got the respect that he did deserve. And it's unfortunate because you see him at this stage in his career. And yeah, a lot of people hate on Tyron Woodley, and it's sort of easy to right now. He's lost 3 fights in a row, and he hasn't looked very good in any of those fights. He's lost each and every one of them very convincingly. The thing that I worry about with Tyron Woodley is I don't think what he lost can be brought back in a training camp. I think it was a mental edge that he did just lose when he became champion. We see this with a lot of guys. You become champion, and then you start using a more safe fighting style. And I do think Woodley was a victim of that, where, okay, now I'm champion. I'm fighting not to lose more than I'm fighting to win. And that's fine when you're champ. I think GSP did that, too, in the later stage of his career as well. It's just for Woodley, you're no longer champ anymore, and you are fighting these guys, and that's all they care about every single day. You might be falling in and out of love with the sport, but all Vicente Luque does is get up every day and go train at Sanford MMA with Gilbert Burns, trying to beat Tyron
Serrato
Woodley.
MMA, and he came in from Brazil for this one.
There you go. Gilbert Burns was in embedded, and they're best friends. And the thing with Gilbert Burns is he destroyed Tyron Woodley, not only on the mat, but on the feet too. And the thing about Luque is they have somewhat of a similar striking pattern. The difference is that Luque's been striking his whole entire life, and I do think the openings that Gilbert Burns is able to use against Woodley, they're still going to be there. Woodley gets hit with left hooks. He is very susceptible to the leg kick, although I will admit he's good at throwing the leg kick himself. If you're really bad at checking leg kicks against Vicente Luque, he's going to destroy your lead leg. If you are susceptible to the left hook, well, that's one of his better strikes. So this is a really hard fight for Tyron Woodley. If we do get the best version of Tyron Woodley, I saw a tweet out there, and it's like, wow, Tyron's going to unleash that right hand he's had cocked for the last 14 rounds. If he does, then Luque's going to sleep without a doubt. My issue is when we do talk about all the great wins that he used to have. Oh, remember the Koscheck win? Remember the Robbie Lawler win? I mean, that was UFC
2013,
exactly.
2015.
UFC 201 and 160 something or 167 years and years ago is my point. The thing is, we always talk about the things Tyron Woodley did do in his career, and yes, they were spectacular. But the issue is that we haven't seen him do those great things as of late, and I just don't think we're going to see the same Tyron Woodley. I just don't know if we're ever going to see the same Tyron Woodley again. I think it's unfortunate. I would hate to see him leave his career on a 4-fight losing streak, and that's it. He gets TKO'd by Vicente Luque, but I think it's Luque's time. I think he beats everyone outside the top 15, so you had to start giving him guys in the top 15. It's not like Woodley could turn this fight down, too. Last thing from me, Luque's the type of guy who you don't really want to fight when you are in the top 15 because he's very dangerous. Woodley's in that kind of position where, okay, I've got to accept whatever fight's next, so I think Woodley was kind of forced to take this fight, and I really don't like it for him.
You cool down?
I'm cooled down.
All right, so Matt, Vicente Luque, like I said, I mean, this is a guy that's taken on a decent level of competition if you like the Randy Browns, the Nico Prices of the world, and so on and so forth. But the one thing that I totally agree with you is he needs a fight like this. And for Woodley, back against the wall, you continue to lose against the top, what, 3, really? I mean, when it comes down to it, your best 3 welterweights right now, you've got the man himself, Gilbert Burns, you've got Colby Covington, and then your champion, Kamaru Usman. And losing to those guys, well, there's not a lot of shame in it unless you put on a fight. And for Tyron Woodley, he didn't really put on much of a fight. He got backed up. When you're behind those 2 back lines, nobody ever wins. You rarely ever see somebody win. Unless you're like an amazing counter striker or you're Trevin Jones, you rarely ever win when you're backed up like that. So for Tyron Woodley, you know there's always an opportunity that he can throw a counter. You look back at some of his fights. Koscheck, he was behind the lines. Waited, baited, bam. And then the extra 2 shots for fun. But again, like you said, that was years ago. It was 2013. The fight against Robbie Lawler where he blitzed, that was 2016 UFC 201. So for me, it's tough to go with Woodley where his output continues to go down and he's getting older in his career. And that's the other thing. Tyron Woodley's a bit of an anomaly. And I heard Luke Thomas talk about this, so I'll give credit where credit's due. It's not like I'm making this point my own, but you can see it too. Tyron Woodley became a champion at an older age, like Michael Bisping did. Bisping had the win against Rockhold. Then he beat senior Dan Henderson. He was almost AARP eligible. And then when he fought GSP, he lost. But that's predictable. That's what was going to happen. For Woodley, he was at an older age. He fought Thompson, who was at an older age. He fought some good fighters. Till was a good fighter that y'all must have forgot. But Damian Maia wasn't a spring chicken. He was on a win streak, but he wasn't a young guy. And then when he faced Kamaru Usman, boom, super adversity, he loses. So for me, again, I look at this one. I look at the odds. I think they're a little kooky. You've got Vicente Luque open to -240. The late monies come in on Woodley. Interesting. Luque's -232 on best fight odds. For Woodley's +187. I mean, final thoughts. Yeah, I agree. I've got Luque here.
If Tyron Woodley can somehow land that one big shot, and I know we've been saying that for a very long time, so you still have to kind of say it, but again, the fact that a Tyron Woodley fight has now come down to the fact that, oh wow, if he lands the shot, he can win. If not, he's going to lose is kind of sad because this is one of the more well-rounded guys in MMA for a while, so it's kind of unfortunate to see where he is. But yeah, I agree. I've got Vicente Luque all day.
Maybe we get a y'all must have forgot, but Matt, there's a lot of people asking for it in the chat, and I'm saying, hey you, yeah you, got Bush? You definitely do if you haven't tried out the best products from our sponsor today, Manscaped. After using these life-changing products, you're going to want to join a ballsack beauty contest. I'm looking out for you because I also have an exclusive 20% off discount. Use code FNP at manscaped.com. Matt, they want me to tell a funny ball story. I'll tell you a funny ball story and I'll pop the graphic up. I mean, if you got Bush, you got to check out Manscaped. Listen, I'm a shower nut shaver. You can't shave in the toilet. You can't shave in the kitchen sink. You'd be silly to. So you do it in the shower, and listen, I bought those big box store brands before. You can get them. They rust. They don't work all that great. I've got myself the Lawnmower 3.0. It has an LED light. It's got, 9,000 RPM speed. It's a ridiculous invention if you've ever seen one. But the whole point is Manscaped's dedicated to helping you level up your full-body grooming game with the Perfect Package 3.0 kit. It comes with a shed and a lot of great products. But again, the Lawnmower 3.0, it's good stuff. Cody Keller saying it's time for Manscaped over in the comments section. You're gosh darn tootin' right it is. Just check out the website. Support the show. Support the guys. They're great products as well. If you get the Perfect Package, you get the shed like I said. You get the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant. It's like a salve. You squirt it on. Slap that stuff on. It works great. For me, I actually use their great Crop Reviver Ball Toner. You spray that stuff off there, or on there. Don't spray it off. Spray it on. You want a little bit of a pick-me-up. It's good stuff. They also have, as always, the Weed Whacker. I use it every single show. During the show, like to trim my nose
That
hairs.
stuff grows, guys.
It's great stuff. And then if you also want to check out some of the great products, they have the refined cologne as well. It's a smell that you know and love already. And if you want to spray that stuff out there, I've actually got some on right now. So make sure you check them out with perfect package or performance purchase. You get 2 free gifts, the Shed Travel Bag and the High Performance Reduced Chafing Manscaped Boxers. It's all great stuff. Help out the show. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code FNP at manscaped.com. Do yourself a favor and always use the right tools for your bush trimming experience. Matt, it's time to talk about our main event. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about my nuts so far. And surprisingly, people haven't tuned out, so you must have really enjoyed it. You must like it. Matt, in this main event, Stipe Miocic taking on Francis Ngannou. I was honest to goodness kind of surprised that people they weren't up in arms with the pick at the start of the week. So
I would hope
thank you. You have Ngannou, the favorite, taking on Miocic in the rematch, and we saw what happened in the first fight. And if I can offer some personal wisdom from being in the building, in the nosebleeds for this fight, you could have cut the tension with the Lawnmower 3.0. You could have cut my nose hairs with the Weed Whacker. I mean, it was insane. Like, even into the 5th round. Now, a lot of people were a little bit nervous as Diego Casas hits us up in the super chat and says, getting my Manscaped for sure. You should.
It's a man who doesn't want rusty nuts.
But in this fight, man, so nervous when I was there. Ngannou can still land that knockout blow. Since then, I mean, he's moved his training from MMA Factory with a lot of good kickboxers over to Extreme Couture, a lot of good wrestlers. And people are making fun of Phoenix Graves, who moderates our comments, saying that, listen, you picked Misha Serkinov to win in the first round. Boo-hoo. But what I will tell you is training with guys like Misha Serkinov for a fight like this, you're going to work your takedown defense. You're going to work some of those scrambles. I like that for a guy like Ngannou. And listen, Phoenix, I'm talking to you. I picked Misha too, so there's no shame in it. Like, it happened and it's over with. Francis Ngannou has a really tough test in front of him again. So what are you thinking here?
This is a really fun fight, and I'm extremely excited. And I'm nervous even though I'm nowhere near either one of these guys, because you know how Francis Ngannou wins fights. He wins them by just destroying people, and he normally wins very, very fast. And that's what's going to be the terrifying thing. What's Francis going to do in this fight? Is he going to come out as a more reserved version of himself? Is he going to sort of wait, let Stipe be the one to really dictate where the fight's going to go? Let Stipe go for the takedown first, or let Stipe come to you? Because here's the thing. Stipe's going to be on the defensive the whole time this fight's on the feet. I don't think I'm telling anyone something they don't know. Every moment Stipe's on his feet, he can get knocked out. The interesting thing is, no one's talking about how Stipe can knock out Francis. This feels a lot like Poirier-Conor too, where it was, oh, Conor can win in those first 2 rounds by knockout, or Dustin can win by decision. Also, Stipe can knock out Francis, and Dustin can knock out Conor. Stipe is one of the more dangerous guys on his feet, and if you go back and watch their first fight, yeah, Francis lands good strikes on the feet, but there's a few moments where Stipe does counter some of the strikes, and he has a nice pull, 2, good straight right. He lands good shots on Francis, though, and I do think Francis has a very, very good chin. Don't get me wrong, the few times that we have seen him hit clean, he does eat it quite well, but let's not act like Stipe can't knock out Francis. This is what it is, though. I don't know how perfect Stipe can be in this fight, because I do think this fight comes down to how perfect can Stipe be until Francis hits him, or is Stipe just going to fight the perfect fight and we're not going to see any resistance from Francis? This very much is going to be a Francis wins quick, or Stipe could knock him out fast, or just kind of pitches a shutout. I have no idea who's going to win this fight, and that's what makes it very, very fun, because we all know what the threat of Francis is. I am going to pick Francis. I do think that trilogy against DC, it took a little something from Stipe. He is the older fighter. I do think he might be a little bit slower. Now, the one thing I will admit, though, and I said it might be a bit of a key to this fight, Stipe did show up. He's 30 pounds lighter than Francis, and that could either be a really good sign or a really bad sign. I think it might make the takedown a little bit harder to get, but I do think it'll make him a lot faster on the feet, so maybe a little bit more elusive. So if you're betting on this fight, I will admit Stipe as an underdog is a fairly good bet, although I will still pick Francis Ngannou. I think I'll catch him with a big shot.
Blind dog, I mean, that's just high praise right there. Are these Chaels kids? Dad? Have you been in Westland, Oregon all this time? We're on the opposite side of the continent, really. So, yeah. And Be Kind Rewind saying that guy's got bush.
But okay, people gotta stop saying Stipe doesn't have a chin. Like, he got knocked out by Daniel Cormier, one of the greatest fighters of all time, and he got knocked out by Stefan Struve a bunch of years ago. Like, he normally eats really big shots from guys. Overeem dropped him, he got back up. Mark Hunt hit him with clean shots, and he didn't get knocked out. Like, whoever started this whole narrative of Stipe might be chinny is completely ridiculous. If Francis knocks him out, it's because Francis is the hardest hitter, maybe in MMA history. It has nothing to do with Stipe's chin.
And apparently MMA Parlay King says mean things behind our back. But if you do, Okay. I mean, you're talking about us, so thank you. We appreciate it.
Colby
Matt, in a fight like this, if we do actually look at the odds, I said, I mean, Ngannou's the favorite. He opened a favorite. He opened a minus 225. He's now minus 139. Stipe Miocic is second biggest mover and shaker on this card at a 39% clip. The number one at 40%, Marc-Andre Barriault, Quebec's own. So that's interesting. At a 3,542 total votes, Matt, 58% Miocic, 65% by decision. For the 42% that have Ngannou, guess at how many percent have by knockout? 95% by knockout. Maybe he gets him by freight train Kimura like he did against Anthony Hamilton. I doubt it though. So for me, I look at this fight, Matt, and again, it's like Ngannou has a puncher's chance, but he has like the ultimate puncher's chance. Like he's like Blue Eyes White Dragon back when I was in grade 1 or 2. Like you needed that card, man. Francis Ngannou has all those powers. Bub Collins saying, "What's up, boys? Return to the Sugar Show. Big W coming for O'Malley." I agree with you.
No, you don't, Craig.
I do.
You picked Almeida. We're sticking with it.
All right, Matt. Well, I've got Ngannou in this one as well. And I think this is the opportunity for him to really kind of land a big one on Miocic. We haven't seen Stipe in some time. And you look at the 5 on in, and we talk about that all the time. For Francis Ngannou, he had the fight against Lewis 2 years, 8 months ago. 2 years, 3 months ago against Blades. 2 years, 1 month against Bukauskas. 1 year, 8 months against JDS. And then 10 months ago against Rosenstrike. So it's been a little bit of time. For Miocic, the 5 on in. Almost 4 years ago against JDS. What was that? UFC 204? 211. Francis Ngannou, 220, 3 years, 2 months ago. 2 years, 8 months ago against DC. 2 years, 7 months ago. 7 months and a week ago. So he has been the fighter that's come out more often. We have seen Stipe more recently than we have seen Ngannou. But the guy's 38. Now, heavyweights age like fine wine and not like bread, I guess. Bread.
Whatever you want to go with.
Francis, the younger guy. I'm still going with Francis in this one. I mean, it should be an awesome fight. I'm not going to put any cheddar on this one. I'm just going to enjoy it from, well, my seat over there for the fight companion, which you should definitely join in. So, if you're late into this one, we're going to go back through the total picks. Like I said, we always agree everybody for tuning in. Do you have any other final thoughts on this one? As Cody Keller hits us up in the super chat and says that we're the #1 prediction show. I'd like to say analysis, but predictions are what they are.
This could be a really fun fight. I'm excited. This is the main event. I gotta be honest. I don't want to see either guy lose. I'm a big Stipe fan. I'm a big Francis fan. I just hope we get a really fun fight between these two guys. And the good news is, if Francis does win, we probably will get this fight again in the future, which is exciting if you're a fan of heavyweight MMA. But I think this is gonna be a really big card, all things considered. So make sure you guys join us for our fight companion for the main card.
All right, Matt. So we go back to the start. We have Quebec's Marc-Andre Barriault taking on Abu Zaitser. Both guys coming off USADA suspension. One guy halfway involved in a sketchy balcony Mission Impossible type thing where his brother got cut but he didn't, and then he got suspended by USADA. But all things considered, I'm going with the guy that has just odd circumstances surrounding him in Abu Zaitser.
I've got the potato man himself. I do think Azaitar is the more complete fighter out of the two, and I do think he has the much better wrestling if he does decide to use it in this fight.
Fair enough. We're both going with Abu Zaitser. Matt, Shane Young taking on Omar Morales. I see this one being quite volatile. It's a great matchup, though,
Really
going with Morales.
I agree. This should be a fun fight, though.
Weird nickname as just Venezuelan fighter. Matt, our next one, Michal Oleksiejczuk taking on Modestas Bukauskas. Should be a great fight. I have Bukauskas in this one.
Lord Michael in the house. I think Oleksiejczuk's going to win.
Matt's got Lord Michael, Fender Jazz, tossing out good vibes. I appreciate you as always. You can toss a like. It's free. There's almost 1,000 people tuning in, only 244 likes. We got to get that above 300 before the end of the show, or we won't go away. You got Jared Gooden taking on Abubakar Nurmagomedov. Now, I worry about Abubakar being as big of a favorite as he is, that he likes to throw hands, and Jared Gooden loves to throw hands. But I do have Abubakar Nurmagomedov in this.
I agree, and if things are going well for him in the first round, it's kind of expected to snowball into the second and the third. I like Nurmagomedov in this one.
All right, Matt, both of us going with Nurmagomedov. Our next fight, Alonzo Menifield, Fabio, Cherant. I'm switching. I don't like the fact that Cherant missed weight coming into this one on short notice. I'm going with Alonzo Menifield and the 2-fight skid.
Yeah, I've got Menifield in this one. I just feel like he's fought the slightly better guys throughout his career, and if he cannot tire immediately in this fight, I think he'll be able to get it done.
Ollie TK over in the chat. Both USADA cheats. Listen, if you look at it for Zaitser, he was prescribed something by a doctor. It was kind of a sketchy thing to be prescribed by a doctor. For Marc-Andre Barriault, he had a tainted supplement, and he showed it off, and it ended up testing positive. So take that for what it's worth. Jamie Mullarkey taking on Khama. Awesome fight. I do like Worthy in this one.
I do. One of my more confident picks, to be honest. I think Worthy's got this one.
Both of us going with Worthy. Glenn Bacardi saying smash the like. Our next one, Gillian, Robertson, Miranda, Maverick. You hate to pick against the Canadian, but I'm picking against the Canadian here.
There was a time where Canadians won a lot, and it has not been recently, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm going to pick Miranda Maverick in this one.
All right, Matt, we both have Maverick. Our next fight, we have Sean O'Malley taking on Thomas Almeida. I saw them at the weigh-ins. I saw Almeida's creepy smile. I'm going with O'Malley.
Craig was a leg expert earlier on in the week, but now he's picking O'Malley. I like O'Malley quite a bit in this fight. I even got like my stoppage.
I did so much. I'm not even joking. I did so much research on knee and foot injuries during the week. Randy Schmidt hitting us up in the super chat saying thanks for the pick. You can't wait for the fight. You're going to tune in for the fight companion. Yeah, that's
We'll
really
see you there.
appreciated. We will. Tyron Woodley taking on Vicente Luque. I don't see Tyron turning it around. Knock wood that he does, because it'd be fun, but I've got Luque here.
Yeah, Luque, there's the prop on Luque inside the distance isn't a bad one. All but one of his fights have come by finish, or all of his wins have come by finish in the UFC, so not a terrible bet out there.
John Gotti, yikes, saying this should be on ESPN.
We should at least be on Fight Pass, is what I think. Like, if Yanni the Greek can get up there and say, what is it? Whether you follow or fade, remember cash or don't trash him. We need catchy tags like that. But, yeah, there's a place for us.
Gunny saying, I've already got Thomas. Gunny, there's a reason why we have this show. Stipe Miocic taking on Francis Ngannou. Going with Ngannou here.
Yeah, this could be a really fun fight. I do think Francis is probably going to get it done by TKO, which sucks if you're a Stipe fan, but Stipe does have a chance to win this fight. It's just kind of wild that the champion is the underdog. Don't see that too often, but I also have Francis.
I switched too. I went from Cherant over to the man himself, Alonzo Menifield, and I've got O'Malley in this one. So a couple of switch-ups on my card. You kept yours the same as it was at the start of the week. This should be an awesome card, and I'm really looking forward to the fight companion. So make sure you check it out. You can find us, as always, on Instagram and Twitter, at Fight Night Picks, at Craig Allen FNP, at Matt Allen FNP. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to this fight companion. So Matt, as we always say with Fight Night Picks, let's get into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, recorded in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, it's time for Fight Night Picks with your host,